Greetings, sacred beings. Welcome to Sacred Her Story podcast. I am your host, Jennifer Natasia. And today, for our Sacred Her Story guest speaker, we have Amy Dave. Amy Dave has been a physician assistant for over 24 years. She is also a women's wellness coach specializing in helping moms navigate through this crazy life by syncing their daily habits with their monthly cycles. A mom of three boys, Amy realized her passion while making changes to improve her own systems. Using lifestyle changes, Amy helps women overcome chronic fatigue, frustration, stress, and feelings of overwhelm, replacing them with increased energy, efficiency, and empowerment. And also, she helps women transition into menopause gracefully. And also, she has her own podcast called The Incredible Mom Life, where she shares stories of the wild things our kids do. Amazing. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here because this whole premenopause, menopause, the energy stuff, oh my gosh, this is something that needs to be talked about more, especially about the women's health. And you have this amazing background as a physician assistant. And are you still doing that, by the way?
No, I'm not working clinically.
Okay, but you have your coaching. So tell us all about this. How did it all get started? What was a physician assistant? Was that something you always wanted to do? What's the background story with how it all came about?
How it all came together. So my dad's a doctor, and I knew from a young age I wanted to go into medicine. And when I was looking at colleges and programs, my mom was like, "Hey, check out this PA program thing. I think it would be really great for a work-life balance." So I went that route, and I loved it. I love being a PA. But I realized pretty quickly in my career that you can't really do a lot of education in like a 15-minute appointment slot, right? Like when you go to the doctor, you have about 15 minutes. There are certain things that we have to get through. It doesn't leave a lot of time to teach people.
Mhm.
And all this time, I thought I was eating healthy. I thought I was exercising. Fast forward a few years, I became a stay-at-home mom. I had three kids. Life was busy. And I was always tired. I was always exhausted, stressed out, yelling at my kids and my husband. Like, I just didn't feel good.
Yeah.
But at that time, I still didn't realize that there were things I could do. And while I was home, I went back to school. I got my master's degree. And they offered me a nutrition certificate also. So I took all these nutrition classes. And that was the first time where I learned that things like food and exercise and stress reduction and sleep can all affect your monthly PMS symptoms. And I never knew this. I was blown away. I was like, what are you talking about? My doctors have never told me this. I never learned this as a PA. But if you go to your doctor and you complain of heavy bleeding or cramps or acne that shows up every month, the doctors are going to say, well, you can take a birth control pill, right? Or you can take some pain medicines for your cramps, or you can just push through. And those were the only options I was given, right? So during COVID quarantine, when we were all stuck at home, I finally decided to take care of my own health. And I learned about how the monthly cycle and how the hormones fluctuate and how all these things can affect the hormones. And I started making changes in my own life, the foods I was eating, the exercises I was doing. Within 4 months, all my PMS symptoms were gone.
Wow.
So no more cramps, no more irritability. Like I was getting very angry and, irritable, mood swings, no more heavy bleeding. It was amazing. And I felt so great as the time went on. And that's when I knew I had to teach this to other women. So I left clinical practice. I became a health coach. And now I want to teach women. I want to spread awareness about this topic because it's not something that is discussed. And I just want people to feel better.
Yeah, I love all this. I'm like, yes, thank you. Because I just recently, for myself, I went to talk to my doctor about my hormones, like, hey, can I get a test on like where my hormones are at? And he's like, no, you don't need that right now. And I'm like, but I have this other lady telling me I should because I'm going probably through premenopause and stuff, and these are like taboo topics, right? And so this is amazing and incredible how like just by your food, changing your diet and everything. I mean, I in my head I think, well, yeah, food and exercise, but how do you implement this all? Like, I'm just kind of blown away because I'm like, yeah, I'm eating right. Like how you were saying earlier, you were you ate right, you exercised, but you were still having these symptoms. So, like, how does this make sense?
So, first of all, let me tell you, even if you are going through hormonal changes and you go to your doctor and they do agree to do blood work, which that's the first obstacle, right? The hormone fluctuations are so dramatic that they could be normal the day that you get your blood work checked. And then the doctor will say, well, your blood work's normal, you're fine, but you're
Mm,
not fine, right? You're not feeling it. So, I was eating a lot of salads. I was doing the, calorie restriction, the food restriction. I was exercising like 45 to 60 minutes most days of the week, which sounds healthy, right? All of these things sound great. But what I learned was that as a woman, our body goes through 4 phases every month. So everyone knows that we bleed, right? Once a month. If you have healthy cycles, which you should, you bleed once a month. And if you don't, we need to address that too. Then you have the PMS week, right before the bleed. If you're trying to conceive or get pregnant, you probably track ovulation. So that's the third phase. And the fourth phase is right after your bleed. It's called the follicular phase.
mm,
So in each of these phases, your hormone levels are at different levels, right? They can be high one week, low the next week. Your body needs different nutrients. So in your PMS week, you actually need extra magnesium. You need extra B vitamins. And if you eat foods that contain those things, it can help with your symptoms, right? Your exercise needs to vary because your hormone levels shift. Some weeks you have energy, and I think you can kind of feel this intuitively, right? Some weeks you have a lot of energy and you're just like, wow, I got through everything. I did my workout, I got through my to-do list. And other weeks you're like, oh my God, I don't want to go to the gym. I just can't. I don't have that focus. And so if you, first of all, you have to learn to be aware of this, of your monthly
mm,
cycle, right? That we go through these phases. We are cyclical beings, very much like the four seasons. Our bodies go through these changes where during ovulation, you might feel very hot because that's kind of your summer season. So you want to eat cool foods, you want to eat raw vegetables, smoothies, right? Things that cool you down. Whereas when you're bleeding, that's your winter season. You want to eat
mm.
warm foods like soups and stews. And that salad may not taste great when you're on your bleed
Right.
because your body doesn't want cold food, it wants hot foods. And so just making these simple changes, I didn't eliminate my favorite foods. I still eat them, but I know when to eat them. So I love ice cream and, dairy products. And I have learned that dairy can cause menstrual cramps. So if you eat a lot of dairy during your PMS week or the bleed week, you might be having more cramps. But the following week, when the hormone levels are really low in the follicular phase, you could probably eat something with dairy, like a pizza or something, and be okay. And
Mm,
so I've just learned to, make small changes in the foods that I'm eating. Same thing with the exercise. I vary it out between cardio, strength training, and like a yoga or a walk, based on where I am in the month. You can plan as an entrepreneur, you can plan your workflow around your month.
mm,
There are certain weeks where you're more creative naturally. There are certain weeks where you're more outgoing. So that's when you schedule things like podcast interviews and, speaking engagements. Um,
interesting.
yeah. And there are some weeks where you need rest. And so you should not be scheduling too many events in your calendar. And I'm telling you, this information, one, I was like amazed, because if you had told me this 10 years ago, I would have laughed. I would have been like, that's crazy. There's
I'm over here like I'm like
yeah.
like and these are simple and I'm like I gotta
Yeah.
like relearn myself.
Yeah.
It's like you really gotta know thyself in this.
Yeah. And we've been trained as women to ignore all of these symptoms and all of these cyclical changes. And we've been taught just to be like men, right? And their hormones are the same every day. They fluctuate in the 24-hour cycle, which we have too, but they don't fluctuate in the month, whereas ours do.
Right.
And when you push through, when you work like a man, when you work out like a man, when you eat like a man, it doesn't help. And that's why so many women are exhausted. And the doctors are saying, all your blood work's normal. You're not anemic. Your thyroid's fine, but you're exhausted. You're stressed out.
Mhm.
You're, you're just not feeling alive and well.
Yeah, this is bringing back our sacredness here, like what we're talking
Yes.
about, because, and I like what was going on in my head. It's like, yeah, there's mainly men in the medical field. How much do they know about the woman's body? That they want to tell us what we need to do with our body. And we're like, that doesn't feel good. But then we ignore ourselves because, well, they're the doctor, right? They know more than I do, but here you're coming in and this is like, oh my gosh, evolution for the woman's body, for our home. This is like reclaiming our power. Like, yes, I am woman, I have cycles, I'm with the season. Bitch, back up. This is me. I'm
Yes.
doing my thing, and this is just, I feel like I'm just kind of like, this is amazing, this is amazing, because I wasn't taught all this and here I am. Now I don't even want to say my age because it's almost embarrassing, you
Yeah.
know, of like, oh, I need to sit with my body because I'm feeling all these weird change. I don't want to say weird changes, the season changing, and nobody to talk to about this because not every our parents don't know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and not a lot of women know. And here we have you, Amy. So educate us. Where do we start on all this?
Well, let me just tell you, I learned about this in my 40s. So you're not alone. And I work in healthcare and I learned about this in my 40s. So, um, yes, if I had known this in my 20s and 30s, I can't imagine how different my life would have been. But it's an emerging wellness topic. Your doctors may not have learned this yet unless they have done some additional training in nutrition and things like that. Um, they might not know. I didn't know this. And so they're only offering you what they do know, right? But as your hormones change with pregnancy, with your monthly cycles, with perimenopause, becoming a mom, so many moms, we stop taking care of ourselves and after we have kids, and our hormones are all out of whack because of that. Um, and we're just, told this is normal, this is just motherhood, it's just life.
Yeah, rah rah, like push to the side, right? It's- but can we fix this? Can we get back
And
in?
we can.
Put
So
ourselves
the
back
very
together?
first thing to do is to learn about your cycle. You don't have to change anything, just become aware. Am I bleeding every 28 to 32 days?
Mhm.
Right? Which is a normal cycle. If you're not bleeding and you might have PCOS or irregular cycles or whatever, that's an issue that needs to be looked at. Is my bleeding really heavy? Right? Am I bleeding longer than 5 or 7 days, which again is not normal? You should only have heavy bleeding like maybe 2 to 3 days max.
Mm.
Am I having pains? Am I having a lot of PMS symptoms? Am I having whatever the symptoms are, cramping, bloating, pimples, what's happening the week before my bleed? And there are tons of apps. If you just, search cycle tracking or, period trackers, there are so many different apps and you can pick whichever one you like. Some of them actually allow you to log your symptoms. Some of them will go through the 4 phases and tell you where you are, right? But the first step is really just to become aware of your cycle, of your symptoms, and how you're feeling. And then this, when you live in tune with your cycle, it's kind of intuitive. You really, once you get the hang of it, you're just listening to your body. What do I feel like today? Do I feel like a salad? Do I feel like a soup? Do I feel like doing my cardio, or do I feel like doing a little bit more Pilates and, slower exercise? And you can, there are books you can read. There are coaches you can work with. Like, I did all the research and things myself, but if you just want me to tell you, hey, you're in this phase right now, these are the foods you need to eat, these are the exercises you should be doing, I can make it easy for you and just give you all the things you need. But yeah, it's a learning process, and it's not hard. It doesn't have to take an hour at the gym. It doesn't have to take a whole overhaul of your pantry or your foods, because everyone is different. We eat different foods culturally. We like different foods, right? We don't like the same foods. And with this, once you learn the techniques and oh, I need extra B vitamins this week. B vitamins are found in pastas and, things like that, but they're also found in chickpeas and lentils. So, vary out, do I want a bowl of pasta or do I want some chickpeas in my soup or whatever, these small things can help, and it doesn't take a whole lot. It does take some getting used to. It does take some learning. But you start slow. You start with one thing and change it and see how you do. And then you keep adding more changes as you feel better.
Wow. So how long, and what's incredible is you have all boys. So I'm like, how do you not have a girl to teach this to?
Yes.
But how long did it take you to feel good in your body again and notice the change, in your body? Did that take a while?
So I started with my diet. And once I got comfortable with that, a couple months later, I added in the exercise. And within 4 months of me starting these changes, my cramps were gone. My heavy bleeding was much less. I wasn't yelling at my kids that often. Even, my husband was like, wow, your mood's been really stable and nice. Yeah, I was much more pleasant at home, apparently. And then like 6 months later, I noticed I didn't have migraine headaches anymore. I
Wow.
was waking up with energy. I slept the whole night and I was waking up energized. Um, my mental clarity and focus and like my memory it wasn't so great when I had the 3 little kids running around, but now it's much better because I'm taking care of my brain, right? I'm eating the foods that support the brain. So I just keep noticing all of these things. Now I'm in my mid 40s and I have more muscle tone now than I have ever had in my 20s and 30s.
Really?
So just things like that, I notice all of these things. I would not have had the energy to start a business 10 years ago without changing my physical symptoms.
Wow.
Right. I already thought I was exhausted. I had a full plate, full to-do list, overwhelmed by my to-do list. Whereas now I'm doing so much more
Mhm.
and I have much less stress about it.
Wow, that's incredible. And like you were talking about something, I'm like, I'm having a brain fog. And so I go, I need your assistance here because I'm not like this. But that's so powerful to be able to notice all these change in your symptoms, what you were going through. I'm just like, because for me, it's the brain fog, and I go, okay, now I need to figure out. So it's all eating, how we can change these symptoms just by eating.
It's eating, it's sleep, it's
Mhm.
stress, right? If you're under a lot of stress, there's another hormone called cortisol, which you may
Cortisol.
have heard about. So that's your stress hormone. That affects things like weight. If you're not losing weight, but you're eating healthy and you're exercising, maybe your cortisol is too high. Like
Mm.
all of these things are connected. And even if you just focus on one thing, like let's say the eating sounds too overwhelming, but you want to work on stress reduction or you want to work on getting better sleep at night. You start with one thing, and then as you start feeling better, you'll have the energy to do all the other things.
Got it. I have a question.
Yeah.
So, since you're the health guru now, you're the health coach. So, I've been, for me, it's the weight thing. So, cortisol definitely has something to do with it. For me, it's the sleep. I would stay up and keep trying to do stuff when I should be sleeping. However, mine is just sleeping, but with the eating. I've been reading stuff like we should eat so much protein, like 100 grams of protein a day and 125. Is that actual fact as we get older, or is that kind of just thrown out there at us to be like, yeah, eat more protein? Keep
So I
building.
don't count my grams. Okay. That's not something I do. But if you're exercising and building muscle, your body needs protein to build muscle.
Hmm.
When you build muscle, your metabolism increases. So that can help with weight loss, right? So yes, you do need the protein to help you build muscle and make hormones and things like that. I don't count the exact numbers of the macros, so how many grams I eat, I have no idea. But I try to eat protein at every meal, right? My snacks are things like hummus and nuts and things with protein in them. Um, so I try to get as much as I can in me. But that's not the only thing you need. You need fiber, you need vitamins and minerals, right? You need carbohydrates that keep your blood sugar steady instead of this like the simple white breads and pastas that can spike your blood sugar and then make it crash. You don't want that.
Hmm.
Um, so there's a lot of things in there, but I don't focus on the specifics of how many grams of protein did I eat.
Okay.
I
But
probably I don't even know how much I get. I honestly I don't even if it's 75 grams or 130 grams. I have no idea. But I know I feel good.
yeah, I go,
And I know my muscles are growing.
yeah, you're like, I got more muscles. I feel good. I don't have the cramps that I used to. I don't, the migraines, the brain fog for me.
Brain
But,
fog, yeah.
so this is incredible. And you're just saying, and what you're bringing is this whole, what season is our body? What cycle are we on? And just eating towards that. So if we were like, can you give like an example or like how a woman should eat depending on the phase, or does it just vary between each woman according to what
There
she's
are some general guidelines. Again, it's all very individual. So if you start keeping a food journal and you say, every time I eat dairy, I feel bloated.
Mm,
Every time I eat gluten, I have cramps. And then you avoid those foods and see if your symptoms go away. So it is very individualized, but I'll give you some general guidelines. So I'll start with the bleed because it's the easiest one for people.
mm,
That's your winter season, right? Like we talked about. So you want warming foods, you want soups, you want teas, hot teas, you want iron because you lose blood, right? And your body needs iron to make red blood cells. So red meat is good in that phase because you need the iron.
mhm,
Um, the week before in your PMS week, you need extra magnesium.
mm.
And dark chocolate is actually a really great source of magnesium, which is why a lot of women crave chocolate. You just don't want the milk chocolate because it has too much sugar.
Like a cow.
Yes. So even our cravings in that PMS week, if you're craving salt, you're not craving the sodium, you're craving magnesium. But your body can't tell the difference.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
So if you're craving pastas and breads, your body might be needing more B vitamins because those things are typically found in pastas and but you can eat other foods with B vitamins that are better for you.
Light bulbs are going off on me because I know, I'm like, I could remember like I think it's before my bleed, I'm like, I want all the salty chips I can, salt and vinegar, salt, salt, salt. And so it's magnesium. Oh my gosh. And
You
then,
might, yeah, you might need a magnesium supplement. So
yeah,
dark leafy greens are really good in magnesium,
got
like spinach, kale, arugula. Those things are really good. You may need a magnesium supplement or even like an Epsom salt bath. If you read the labels, a lot of the salts have magnesium in there.
it. Right.
Um, if you're getting leg cramps at night, right, that might be low magnesium or low iron. It could be your symptoms are your body's way of trying to tell you something's wrong.
Right. I mean, I'm eating for it. I thought it was salt. So I'm like, I'm gonna eat all the chips I
So
want.
if you try either a magnesium supplement during that time or foods with magnesium, so the dark chocolate, you want it to be as much cacao as you can. And they say, I think it's like 70% or more.
Okay.
So if you read like a chocolate bar, some of them will say like 66% cacao, 80% cacao. And the higher the percentage, the less sugar it has, basically.
All right. So those cacao
Um,
ceremonies are doing me justice then.
yeah. So those things might ease your cravings and eliminate maybe leg cramps and this and that. If you're craving fatty foods, right, your body needs healthy fats. So
Mm.
omega-3 fatty acids, which is what we find in nuts and avocados and olive oil, right? Those are healthy fats, but your body can't distinguish. So it's just craving fat. So you feel like eating fatty foods. Yeah.
Good.
So these are just some simple shifts that you can, once you start journaling and you can keep a food diary and you can say, oh, every week before my period, I crave salty foods. Maybe I should look into my magnesium, right? And take a supplement. Um, so there's a lot of things like that. There's a whole list of different things, but there's a few examples of like the common ones.
This is incredible. And, just from your own healing, for you to be like, okay, my doctors are not helping me, so I got to figure it out. So let's kind of rewind and go back to that. So so you're having these symptoms. Did you go to your doctor? Like, what made you go, oh, let me check this out or go this avenue? Like, how did
Yeah.
that all kind of came through for you?
So I've always had cramps and bloating and, heavy bleeding um, since my 20s, right? And after having my kids in my 30s, it was worse. Um, and I told my doctor, I actually, based on my medical conditions, I can't have birth control. It's contraindicated for me.
Mm,
Um, and she was like, well, you take your pain medicines, take your iron tablets, and, that you deal with it. You're a woman. You have to just go with it. And for years, I thought this. I didn't know any different. My doctors didn't know any different. And it wasn't until I took the nutrition classes where I even had like the slightest idea that things like diet and exercise could affect my symptoms. And even then I was like, yeah, that's great. I'll do it someday. I bought the book. This lady was a guest lecturer in my nutrition class and I bought her book. I was like, yeah, I'll read it someday. I'll read it someday. This was, mind you, in like 2016 or 17 when I went back to school.
mhm.
And I bought that book right away. It sat on my my nightstand. It gained some dust over there. Then it got moved to my bookshelf. It gained more dust over there. And finally, during COVID, so like 3 years later, I was looking at my bookshelf one day and I saw that book. I was like, you know what? I have the time. Let me figure out what's going on with my own body. And that was when I sat down and read this book. And it blew me away. I was like, what? How did I not know this before? Like nobody had ever told me this. Nobody taught me about this. So I did a lot more research. I read more books. I started implementing the techniques and I saw changes. And now I've been doing this. And I guess now we're going on 6 years that I've been doing this. And I tell you, I feel like a different woman.
Yeah, that's incredible. Incredible. And you also have your podcast, so share about that.
Yes. So my podcast is geared towards moms because I know, especially the moms of the younger kids, we're struggling, right? We're not taking care of ourselves. We're running around to all the activities or managing everybody's schedules and to-do lists and homework assignments and, PTA and coach and this and that. And so my podcast is one, I have all the mom guests share a funny story about their kids or some story, some kind of kid story that, we all go through. We could probably write a book about our mom stories. And then I offer health and wellness tips. So I talk about things like syncing with your cycle. Today I'm working on my podcast episode for this week. It's going to be on things called hormone disruptors. So there are things in our cleaning products, in our makeup, in our clothes, in our foods that affect our hormones.
Come again?
Yeah. So things like fragrances, anything with alcohols in them, like the perfumes or makeup or cleaning products. Bleach is not great for your hormones, right? So things like this can all affect your body. So your diet, your exercise, the products you're using, whether it's soap or deodorant or makeup or your scented cleaning products, can have disruptors in there.
The things we take for granted and don't even think about.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, yeah, just put some bleach on it. Just clean it with bleach. You clean everything with bleach.
Yep.
It's going to disinfect. And
it's the fragrances that are a big one.
Really?
Yeah.
How come the
they're just, so the way that the FDA approves all the ingredients, and I'm not an expert on this, but if it's like a natural flower, they list the natural flower. But if it just says fragrance, there's no restriction on what they can put in that fragrance. So they can put toxins in there, which are, they're cheaper, they're easier to use and get and store and all of these things. We just didn't realize that they were toxins when we first started using them, and now they're so widespread. Again, this is new in the wellness communities, in the holistic spaces. You'll see this. It's emerging, it's new and emerging, but they were talking about red dye 40 in the foods.
Yeah.
So things like that can cause cancer, but there are other things in the foods, in the products, that we're not even aware of yet. So in general, the less ingredients they have on their ingredients list, the better. And the longer the names are, usually those things are not great for you. Because they're all chemicals and, other things.
Right. I mean, I heard about the eating stuff, but, like bleach, yeah, put your gloves on, but you don't think of the smell. But, when I think about it, like for me, I'm a bit sensitive with things. And, like, I don't know if you remember Comet. I don't know if they even still have it. And I used to really break out really bad on it. I was young, didn't care to wear gloves. But even like my sense of smell kind of diminished from it. And then, yeah, like I said, the things you take for granted. And like, even like you think perfumes won't be bad for you. And now it's like, oh, well, make sure you take a bath, and look at what soap you use and like everything, it's wow.
I've been on a quest. I'm kind of changing out my cleaning products and my makeups like slowly as I find better alternatives. And it's hard. It's not easy. But you go for the natural products, the toxin-free products. Like they'll say on the, whatever the soap, it'll say no parabens, no fragrance, no, anolamines. There's all these like words. Those are the things that I'm kind of going for. I've switched to unscented like soaps and all of that stuff. The aluminum in the deodorants is not great for you.
Yeah.
So all of these things I'm slowly like learning and swapping them out. It is a process. It's it's not easy, but little by little I am working on it.
That's amazing and inspiring. Like now it's like, okay, I'm hearing all this. I can't ignore it anymore. So time to do the same thing, because it's like we want to live as healthy as we can, as long as we can. And with all this stuff that's affecting us, it's like it's not talked about. It's hidden from us, right? Uh-oh. I think you paused. Oh no. Are you there? Okay, and so what's going on? I know Amy has a storm over there, the winter storm. So I'm going to try getting her back here.
Just start with the next question.
And we're back. Yeah, and so we were just saying like how with all the stuff that we're putting in our bodies, it's just to be mindful of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start learning, start becoming aware, and change out one thing at a time. Don't do it all at once because that'll just make you overwhelmed.
Thank you for that reminder. I'm that type of person who's like, I need to change it all and go crazy. And then it's like, oh my gosh, why?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
don't do that.
So that's, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Such a beautiful reminder. So as we close this chapter of Sacred Her Story, I do have a couple questions before we end.
Sure.
What is that one piece of wisdom you wish your younger self had known?
So this living in tune with my monthly cycle is a big one. Um, but even just personal growth, I did not care about that in my 20s and 30s. I should have, but I didn't. I mean, I did a little bit. Um, but I wish it was more now. And I think that was because I feel so much better now that I was able to do more personal growth and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I guess it goes back to follow your cycle. Your body's trying to tell you something with the symptoms
Mhm.
and keep growing always.
I love it. So that's your lesson to yourself. But what about our audience? Like, what is something you feel that is important for those who are listening in their own walk and becoming? What do you feel is important to share for them?
Listen to your body because it's trying to talk to you. It's trying to send you messages, whether it's through migraines or it's exhaustion or stress or you're yelling at your kids, all day long. Um, Something's off. And so first you would definitely recommend getting a medical workup, making sure there's nothing else, going on. But if all your labs are coming back normal and the doctors say you're fine, but you don't feel fine, I would look into that more. Start, writing down your symptoms, start writing down when you feel them, what you were doing, what you ate. And you might start to notice some patterns.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Well, beautiful souls, if today's story moved you, inspired you, especially reminded you to like rebuild that relationship with self, I invite you to follow Amy. Make sure you get to know your body more. And also, I invite you to follow and subscribe to Sacred Her Story podcast, for this is where real women share their raw and filtered becoming, the sacred, the messy, and the powerful. And thank you, Amy, for sharing so much wisdom and knowledge here today, and your own journey of getting in tune with your own body. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, for she is sacred her, sacred, highly exalted. It's saying yes to ourselves and trusting our own inner wisdom. Thank you, everyone.